Hey everyone, we're down on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. This amazing stretch of water stretches nearly right from Melbourne right down to Sorrento. And interestingly enough, there's around about 40 kilometres of near uninterrupted camping all down the western side of this peninsula. It's probably no secret by now that we left 2 months ago after extensive setting up of our vehicle and our caravan, but sadly once we got to Victoria we had some issues with the car, and even 2 months to today down the track, we're still having issues. We're really hoping that this week will sort it out. So we thought what better place to stay than the peninsula. It's absolutely stunning waterway, and hopefully this week will sort us out and we'll be on our way. So what we thought we'd do, just to keep our hand in and keep everyone's interest there, we thought we'd do a little mini episode, and we've entitled it Tips and Tricks. These are some of the little things that we've done to the vehicle, the caravan, just little tricks that sometimes people know about, sometimes they don't, but we thought we'd just share them with you, and yeah, we hope you enjoy it. So don't forget, make sure you click on the subscribe button and the notification button, and that way you'll keep up to date with what we've got coming on YouTube. And hopefully, as I said, after this week all will be smooth sailing and we'll be on our way to some really good episodes. Here's one of our little tips and tricks that might be of help to you. For all those out there with caravans, most of you have got 2 95 litre tanks, 2 110 litre tanks, or the like, and generally speaking they're all always hooked in parallel so that they supposedly, in theory, drain equally. But I gather probably a lot of you have noticed from time to time that the tanks don't seem to drain evenly, and what will happen if one tank drains before the other, then you'll just suck air from the other tank, so you can't effectively drain the second tank. This is one of the little things that's been annoying me, I've got to say. The only way around it is most caravans also have a little turn-off tap at the outlet of each tank, which is usually always under the van, or most of the time under the van. And in my case, I've got to get out there and crawl up on my back and get a torch out to get my hand up in this tight little spot to turn the tap off and turn the other tap on. And if that happens in the middle of the night, well, yeah, it's not real good. So I've decided to go and automate the little tap. So it's a simple matter of going along to your local irrigation store and picking up one of these little 12-volt valves, water valves. Bear in mind, if you go to Bunnings or something like that, they look the same, but they're not 12-volt DC, they're usually 24-volt AC, so you must get the DC one. Generally, as I said, if you pop along to your local irrigation store, you'll find these quite readily available for 20-25 bucks, something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the tap out of where it is at the moment and simply just put in line this particular valve. Now to control those, I've made up this little switch box, and yeah, it simply just says front tank, back tank. You can either have one on or the other on, or both on. So yeah, this will be just a simple matter of, I'm going to install this somewhere very convenient so it's easy to get to, particularly at night time, and that should automate the job. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. Step 2, we have to mount our little trusty switch in a nice convenient spot. I've selected underneath here where the water pumps are, and we have to put a hole through the floor to make sure the cables go through. And also, I can't just stress enough to make sure you do your homework where the hole's going. Double check, triple check and quadruple check, because if you drill it in the wrong spot, you could be very sorry. So anyway, I've already done that part of it, so let's see if we can get this hole through. Nice and quick when you've done your prep work. So 2 of the cables have to get fed through to go to the individual pumps, which we'll do that now. Okay, so I've just also put some double-sided tape on the back of this. Open the trusty and get the tape off. Okay, so the next step is to remove the tap, the existing tap that's on the outlet of the tank. It's a little bit awkward and a little bit tight, particularly if you've got underbody armour, which we have, but nevertheless it's fairly straightforward. It's just a couple of clamps you've got to undo and remove the tap. So we'll get under there now, and fiddle around with it and see how we go. As I said, she's a bit tight, particularly for that back screw. Good idea to drain the water from the tank before you do it, but if you're really quick and get out of the way, you should be okay. Okay, so that's the little tap that we have to get out. I've taken that little bit of tube out as well, because it was a little bit hard to get off the outlet of that, but that's not a problem. So now it's just a matter of taking hold of the solenoid valve that we talked about before. It's ready to go in. Make sure your clamps are on there. And then we just have to hook up these 2 wires to the supply cables that we put through the floor a little while ago. And that one's finished. So let's get that in situ. Okay, it's just about done. Just crimp the cables. Okay, that's done. Now all we've got to do is hook the 12-volt supply up the top, so we'll go up the top and do that step now, and the job's finished. So now we've got the solenoid valves installed at the outlet of the tank. The final step now is to simply hook up the 12-volt supply to the switch box to enable supply to be switched on and off to the individual solenoid valves. The best point to which you get your supply from is definitely the supply to the pump. As you can see here, they're the wires that go to the main pump, and I'll simply just splice the positive and negative into those cables, and that then gives supply to the actual switch box, so you can switch solenoid 1 on, front tank, solenoid 2 on, back tank, or both on at the same time. All right, another great little thing we found, and I must admit I can't actually take credit for this. Jackie found this on Facebook, and look at this, it's just a typical laptop bag. And I've got to say, we had this in the garage for about 15 years with nothing in it, but just check this out. How nifty is this? There's all our barbecue accessories, etc, etc, etc. And we also keep other things in there as well. Open up the top flap, and voila, barbecue plate. So yeah, it makes carrying all the equipment extremely easy and tidy. So if you've got an old laptop bag at home, grab it out, shove all the Weber accessories in it. There we go. Another one of these little things that really gripes me with caravan manufacturers, and it's all of them, absolutely just about all of them, unless you strictly specifies otherwise, is the mounting of their outdoor gas bayonet for your barbecue, etc. Normally this bayonet mount is mounted underneath there, right up underneath there. And as you can see, a pretty awkward spot, let alone when you lower the lid. Yeah, try and get under there to hook up your hose. So if you're a member of Cirque du Soleil, you're probably pretty good. But I'm afraid my old back just doesn't like it, getting down on my hands and knees, etc. So for the sake of about $100 and plus fitting, we've mounted the gas bayonet right there. So when the hose goes in, it just goes straight in, no bending, no nothing. But I must stress that this has to be done by a licensed gas fitter. It's a very simple job. It'll probably take him 15 minutes or so, but it still has to be done by a licensed gas fitter. But trust me, you'll love it. Moving right along with some of our handy little hints and tips, and this one we found by complete accident. Just above the range hood here, we found this little section which we thought, well, this is nothing. What can we do with it? And I thought, well, and Jackie said, well, she's got all these little bottles of spice. So as you can see, we just got a simple piece of angle from Bunnings, a couple of screws down in here, and bingo, we have spice rack, which turned out to be the perfect size for it. While we're inside the van, here's another little beauty we picked up from some fellow campers, and isn't that what camping's all about? You know, someone arrives at a campsite and the first thing you do is go over there. How you going, mate? Let's rack your brains out for what little goodies you've got. So we picked this up from the Ballarat boys when we were camping up there with them a couple of weeks back, and it's actually an extendable shower rail. So it fits in there, it suction mounts on. Once you extend it and you twist it and lock it, it suction mounts onto there, and you have a pretty solid towel rail to hang off something like that. Put the wife's G-strings on it, or the male's jocks, whatever you want to hang off. It's just little things that's just very handy to be able to hang while you're travelling.
G'day. While Doug's been hogging the camera, I thought I'd show you one of my nifty little finds. Found a little peg basket in Woolies. It's got waterproof fabric on it, holds a heap of pegs, just hooks up over your line very simply, and then when you're ready to finish up, pull on the drawstring and store it away. $6, Woolworths.
Getting pretty close to the end of some of our fancy little tips and tricks, but this one, although it's not original, I must admit, going back 4 or 5 years ago when I was setting up a van, basically no one had this accessory, but it's become extremely popular in that time. So just in case you haven't heard about it, it's an extra clothesline. It's simply some balustrade wiring fittings off balustrade, a length of wire that goes between the two arms, end to end, and bingo, you have a very good temporary clothesline. Couple of things to remember when you're actually fitting this up. When you're pop riveting the D-saddles to the arm of your awning, make sure you don't use too long a pop rivets, it'll get in the way of the sliding mechanism there. And also make sure you get the height right down here. It's usually a pretty fine line adjustment, so that when you're closing up when your annex is in retracted position and you're opening and closing your door, that it doesn't impair that. Just one more thing I want to show you, and it's one of our favourite little things, and once again we got this off fellow campers, but how good is this? Everyone's got to have a firebox to carry your firewood, and we just thought, where are we going to carry our wood from now on? And got the tinny and all the stuff in the car, no room, so we've just simply got this little box custom made that fits straight in between the bumper bar, bolts to the bumper bar, solid as a rock, and how good is that with the firewood? All we've got to find now is a campsite where we can have fires, because I must admit, down in Victoria during summer, there isn't many places where we've been able to have a fire, so that wood's travelled with us for a little while so far. But anyway, another value-added accessory to put on the back of your van. So there you go, there's a few little handy hints, tips and tricks. We hope they might be of help to you. So we'll be back shortly with one of our new episodes, and once again, if you like what you see, don't forget to press the like button, the subscribe button, and click on the notification button. That way you'll be kept up to date with all and when it's happening on our YouTube channel.